What's going on, my people? Listen, something I want to talk about today, something that I've talked about for a long time, and usually it's something that I say, person to person, not necessarily publicly. So I'm gonna say it today. Number one, do not depend on your tax refund to plan any sort of expenses. This has been echoed by the IRS themselves. They also have not a policy, but they say on their website that 9 out of 10 people will receive their refunds within 21 days. Well, what does that mean? It means that 1 out of 10 people will not receive their refund within 21 days. How long do they go without? All right, one battery going. All right, so the IRS has on their website, and I'll make sure I put links up here. 9 out of 10 people get their refunds within 21 days. What that means is that 1 out of 10 do not. Okay. Now, that simply means is that 1 out of 10 people may get their refund in 30 days, 40 days, 60 days, 100 days. Some people may not get their refunds at all. It happens for many different reasons. Off the top of my head, I can tell you that it has happened because people have had their identity stolen, right? The IRS had a data breach a couple years ago, and a lot of social security numbers and birthdays and names and stuff like that was stolen. And so what has happened over the last couple years is that fake returns have been filed under people's social security numbers. If you are one of those people, then it's possible that there's already a tax return that has been filed under your name and social, so that when you file your tax return with your name and social, it gets rejected. If your return has been rejected, then what you have to do is you can no longer e-file your tax return. You have to mail that return in. And when you mail that return in, the IRS has to first figure out to make sure that you are that actual person that's mailing in that tax return. So that's gonna, not only does the process of figuring out who you are take about 6 weeks, but then processing the refund takes about another 6 weeks. Okay, that's a very simple thing that happens a lot. What's another one? Sometimes the IRS just randomly holds returns for review. That's what it's called. When you go to the IRS website, the Where's My Refund, it'll simply say that the status of your return is in review. And it can be in review for weeks. I've seen it in review for months. And then they magically release the refund. No rhyme or reason. When you call the IRS and you ask them, why is this being held? They simply say it's being held for review. We're checking the return to make sure it's on the up and up. There's no problems with it, I've known people had their refunds held because the IRS wanted to verify their W-2s. I've had the IRS tell people that they had to send in copies of their W-2s. I mean, something simple like that, right, can uphold or withhold your refund. So keep that in mind, guys. 9 out of 10 people will get their refund within 21 days. 1 out of 10 will not. And there's no real rhyme or reason as to why that is. It really does happen randomly. What's another couple reasons I can think of? I had a young lady a couple years back. The IRS audited her. Again, just a random audit. She didn't do anything wrong. Everything was cool. She had her daughter and her granddaughter on her tax return. Okay, I know this lady and I know her kids, so I know that this was true. And what the IRS did was just randomly send her a letter that say, hey, prove that these kids lived with you. Okay? Well, guess what? She couldn't prove that the kids lived with her. Couldn't prove it. Why? Because she didn't have the kids on her lease. Her daughter was not in school because she had just given birth. And the baby, the grandbaby, was just born, so there was no school records. What the IRS required was medical records, or either a letter from an attorney's office or a police report, right? Those are the documents that's required. If you don't have that, then guess what? You can't prove that your kids live with you. So I talk to people all the time, and I make sure to tell them, hey, whatever address is on your tax return, make sure that same address is on them baby school records. Make sure them babies are on your lease, because you're gonna need that stuff if you need to prove the children lived with you. If you're in that situation, I can help. Okay, there's some things that we can do to go about fixing that, but it takes time. It takes time. None of this stuff happens overnight. In this young lady's case, I told her, hey, you need to make a lease, you know, and I was gonna charge her to make the lease because hell, it's work. You can do it yourself. I'll show you how to do it, right? But you know, she didn't believe me. She's like, it's my money. They're gonna give me my money. So I said, okay, whatever. This happened in June when she got this letter. Keep in mind, she filed her taxes like in February. June, she got the letter talking about sending in proof. That's the way it works. Okay, so in June, I tell her what she needed to do. She didn't believe me. Okay, now we come around to February. Again, she tells me, oh, I still haven't got my money for 2015. What am I gonna do? I'm saying, this is what you need to do. I said, but listen, do not file your 2016 tax return until we fix your 2015. Oh, how long is that gonna take? It's probably gonna take a couple months to fix 2015 at least. She was impatient. She didn't want to wait. She didn't listen to me, so she filed a 2016 return. Well, guess what happened with that 2016 return? They held it. They just held it. You know what I'm saying? Audited her a second time. Okay, now we come to 2017. 2017, we still going through the same thing. We finally got some kind of resolution, but we're talking about 3 years, y'all. 3 years. What's another reason? I've had the IRS ask for income verification. What that means is if you have self-employment income on your tax return, they may ask you to verify that you actually made that income. You have to send in invoices and cancel checks and things like that to prove that you actually made that money. That kind of stuff happens. I've had the IRS ask to verify, like I said, W-2s. They've asked to verify Schedule A's. The IRS can do what they want to do, okay? That's why I tell people not to overpay the IRS. Do not give them a dime more than what you are required to give them. And if you are getting earned income credit or any kind of tax credit, that is not your money. That is money that the government is giving you. So guess what? You ain't entitled to it. If they want to hold it for a month, they can do that. If they want to hold it for 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, they can do that. You have no legal recourse. I can tell you, like, straight up, the only way, God damn it, I want to talk to her too. The only way that you have any kind of legal recourse in court with the IRS is after you pay your full bill, right? Once you pay all your taxes due, then you can actually sue the IRS for those taxes that you paid. That's the way it works, right? You cannot sue the IRS if you owe them money, okay? And like I said, as far as tax credits and stuff like that, as long as you give them adequate proof, then they'll process their refund. But if you don't give them what they consider adequate proof, it ain't gonna fly. You can forget about it, okay? So again, guys, you know, this is about, you know, finance. This is about financial literacy. This is about budgeting. Again, do not bet on receiving that tax money. If you get it, cool. If you don't, you better be cool. You know what I'm saying? Also, something I have said for many years, and I'll repeat it here, is that you have 3 years to file a tax return for a refund. If you know that you're going to get a refund every single year, there is no reason for you to file taxes every year. None whatsoever. Wait and file every 3 years. You can do a hell of a lot more with $20,000 than you can with $5,000. Oh, I'm sorry, I did my math wrong. You can do a lot more with $15,000 than you can with $5,000. It just makes sense. Not only that, but if you do a refund, the IRS will pay you interest on that money. Okay? I can go on about this because there's multiple reasons why you want to file every 3 years. Personally, I file every 3 years because of credit. When you go and apply for credit, the only thing they care about are your tax returns. That's all they care about. They want the last 2 years of tax returns. So if you want to qualify for a big old house, well, you better have a whole bunch of income on your tax return, okay? And then every 3 years, you simply amend the tax return and put a bunch of expenses and deductions on it, and you get a refund back with interest, okay? I do this for people that want to buy houses all the time. If you want to qualify for a house, all you have to do is file 2 years of tax returns with enough income to qualify you for that home loan. That's it. Once you move into the house, amend the tax return, and you don't have to pay the tax anymore. It's that simple, okay? So again, if you know you have small children, you know you're gonna be getting a refund every year, file every 3 years. Not to mention, if you are paying to have your taxes prepared, there is not a company I can think of that's not gonna give you a discount on filing 3 years at once versus filing 1 year. All right, so I mean, you can't lose. You can't lose. U.S. government debt is one of the safest debts in the world. So if the U.S. government owes you money, it's a decent bet that you're gonna get the money. If, like I said, you meet all the qualifications to qualify for those particular tax credits, right? I think that's it. Just want to reiterate. You know, it's 9 out of 10, which means 90%. That means most people are going to get their refunds within 21 days. But it's a 10% chance that you will not. And if you think about the numbers, you think about 10% of all the tax refunds, right, that go out over the world, because there's people in other countries that file U.S. tax returns too, right? There's millions of people, easy, at least a couple 100,000, at least, that are going to be in that 10%. So keep that in mind, please. All right, from me to you, I holla.